I have a confession to make. Whenever I mention painting the faces of my miniatures, inevitably, someone always tells me,
"Hey Scott, you should watch makeup tutorials. They'll teach you a lot."
and my unfortunate response is usually,
I don't need that.
I feel like those videos won't teach me anything profound, and there will likely be some extra inapplicable knowledge. But then, I was watching Love Island one evening, as I'm known to do. I'm at 14 seasons complete. Oh, no one asked? And I saw this. Immediately, this might not look like much other than a woman halfway through the magical transformation that is makeup application, but I learned something that I might call profound in this very short piece of reality TV content. At that moment, I knew that makeup tutorials were worth my time. If I can learn something in that brief 3-second clip, I bet I can learn more in a full video or even several. So we're doing that today. I'm going to watch a couple of makeup tutorials, take some notes, and see how I can apply them to mini painting and share that all with you along the way. Let's get after it, bud. All right, as a fan of the scientific method, before going to the YouTube school of makeup, I'm going to paint a face like I normally do to see if what I learn really impacts the end result. I'm sticking to what I know, or what I think I know. Nothing too fancy when it comes to color selection, methodology, etc. I'm painting the head of a model called The Witch, one of the 3 75mm resin Wood Elf miniatures in my Kickstarter campaign that is launching on February 25th, pretty soon. Also, among those miniatures, the campaign will include a fully metal brush box called the Brush Coffin that can hold 12 plus brushes and other similarly shaped tools for storage or transport. I got a lot of other cool things to show off in the campaign, and if you're interested, consider following the campaign on Kickstarter so when it goes live, you're notified. You can find the link in the description below. All right, here's the finished face. I spent about 3 hours on it. It's not terrible, but it's also not amazing. Let's see what I can learn from some makeup tutorials. All right, I'm learning a lot. If you want to take a peek at my notes, I'll have them linked below, but let's just talk about the big ticket items right now. The first big lesson I learned was about the forehead. The forehead is a problematic area on a miniature's face to paint because with a couple of wrong brush strokes, that forehead can easily turn into a 10 head.
Winner!
In the world of beauty as it relates to makeup, they deal with this problem by focusing the highlights in the center of the forehead, right above the brow. Everything else gets shaded with bronzer in a nice rounded halo to match the shape of the face, which is often some version of a sphere. This can serve to limit the perceived size of one's forehead, but also draw attention to the center of the face and the eyes. This flies in the face of conventional highlighting wisdom that suggests that the brightest area of highlight should be near the hairline. If you're curious what I mean by conventional wisdom, check out this video about where to place your highlights and shadows. To me, this approach has kind of always looked bad when it comes to painting female faces with their hair pulled back especially, like we're exploring in today's video. Okay, that was some fantastic advice. What else can we find? The side of the face has a similar issue to the forehead in that it's very large, but instead of being bright and highlighted, it's facing downward, so it's dark. Typically, I deal with this by having a cheek and jawline highlight, and everything else in between is some sort of shadow. But it feels like too much. There's face detail to explore here, and I don't want it to get drowned in an ocean of darkness. This is what I learned from that short Love Island clip and was reinforced further by watching additional makeup tutorials. Each of us has a piece of cheek meat, not so dissimilar from our other cheek meat. In my dumb brain, that piece of face ends right at the bottom of the jawline, but it doesn't. It ends somewhere halfway between where the cheek and jaw start. This is significant because what that means is after the cheek ends, other fun face things start, which means more painting opportunities. I watched some tutorials that connected that highlight at the corner of the jawline with either the highlight above or below the smile line or the nasal labial fold if you want to sound official. This not only breaks up that large area of shadow nicely on the side of the face, but it gives a really nice rounded shape to your cheek. If you can remember back to art school, you know, the one I never went to. Spheres are often painted with a main highlight on top and a secondary bounce light on the bottom that comes from the main light reflecting off of the environment and back up into your sphere. Something very similar is going on here. This is quite an elegant solution to the problem I was sharing earlier. We break up that large area of shadow and all the while giving a nice round shape to the cheek. Those were two bigger discoveries that I made while doing my research, but I made a lot of other smaller ones that I'll go over while painting the second face, so stick around if you like what I'm sharing. Before we get into that, however, I need to flex some of this newfound knowledge. My wife graciously agreed to let me apply makeup to her face only if she could also apply it to mine, which I, of course, agreed to.
I will do literally anything for content. No more smiling. It creases your makeup!
And you can see the full extent of my receding hairline.
Oh god, that's black!
I don't know how I'm supposed to fix that. Highlight your Cupid's bow.
Cupid's bow?
Yeah, dude, that's what it's called.
You don't know how to use makeup.
No, I don't.
Did you want to do anything on the top?
I don't know. You
They
do.
didn't talk about top eyeliner?
They did.
Okay, then do it.
You do it.
No, you.
Oh god. I mean, this is a train wreck. You definitely did a better job than I did.
Thank you.
I look beautiful. Now look at how I did.
I mean, it doesn't look that bad, but up close.
If this was a makeup class, what would you give me in terms of a grade?
Oh god, the eyeshadow on this side. 5?
Wait, that's not a grade!
5 out of 10?
Okay, so it turns out that applying makeup is actually really hard. Let's get back to doing what I'm not so terrible at after this brief message from our sponsor. Farquest, which is a fantastic name, is an epic fantasy adventure book series aimed at 8 to 12-year-old kids. It contains an epic journey, powerful wizards, mighty warriors, elves, dwarves, and a ton of monsters. Oh yeah, and there's some potty humor in there too if the name of the book didn't give it away. The author, Aaron Reynolds, is a longtime dungeon master and mini painter and has written this series not only as a love letter to D&D, but as a heartfelt and hilarious intro for kids to all things fantasy. Aside from my dogs, I'm not a father myself, but the idea of sharing an important part of my life with one of the most important people in my life in a fun and easy way to digest sounds like a rare win-win-win. There are currently 3 Farquest books released now that you can pick up. As a bonus, Farquest has partnered with Dice Head Miniatures to create custom minis and busts of the 4 main Farquest characters. For the next 3 months, Dice Heads will be offering these exclusive minis to all their tribes and Patreon members as a free gift. So feel free to check out Dice Heads for their fantastic family-friendly minis. The Farquest minis are also available for individual purchase at the Dice Heads My Mini Factory store. You can find links to all the goodies in the description below. Thank you to the creators of Farquest for making such an awesome book and for sharing it with my audience. All right, back to apparently applying makeup to my miniature. One of the first steps in a lot of makeup tutorials is applying some kind of foundation. Being inspired by that, the first color I applied to my mini was the mid-tone, the foundation painting equivalent. On my first attempt, I began with a base coat of my darkest shadow color and worked up from there, but I thought I'd give working from the middle a shot. I'm familiar with both approaches when it comes to miniature painting, and I'll say that you can get the same result both ways, but starting with your mid-tone first will be more foolproof when it comes to painting female faces. After that point, still being inspired by makeup tutorials, I started to apply some rough highlights. In this video, you can see some areas of interest, and I want to point out 2 in particular. One important one that's very simple to paint even on models that don't have it sculpted is the piece of face meat on either side of your bottom lip. This part sticks out and should be highlighted because the oral commissure, where your 2 lips meet in the corner, create a little crease bumping this part out. It almost looks like it could be just a continuation of your bottom lip, which also gets highlighted but with different colors. The second area of interest I want to point out is right in the middle of the face. Either side of the nose in this particular makeup tutorial has a dark line surrounding the bridge of the nose. Notice how the entire side of the nose isn't dark, but just a small line of shadow. This creates a snatched nose effect, which is a beauty term. When I'm painting my miniature, I'll try not to cover up all of the mid-tone on either side of the nose to create this effect. Additionally, here's a little bonus tip. Having some separation between the end of the nose and the bridge of the nose creates a cute little upturned nose effect if you're into that kind of thing. Aside from those areas, I'm applying highlights on the center of her forehead, on the tops of her cheeks, shoving that paint all the way near the tear duct of the eye, the chin, the upper lip, and along the jawline. With that part complete, I started to add my bronzer or shadow. I added it along the hairline on the forehead, especially in the corners, to again limit the size of the forehead, which on this model is kind of big. I also added it below the cheeks to give shape to them. With that part done, I pop back with some more highlights, connecting the jawline to the nasal labial fold to cut right through that shadow to give the cheek the round shape it needs and to do something with all that area of shadow, like I mentioned earlier in the video. I could have done this earlier in the painting process, but I honestly forgot because it's not something I normally do. With my contouring done, it was time to start some work on the eyes. The process for painting the eyes was pretty similar to all my other videos, but what goes on around the eyes is now more defined. I applied some diluted black paint around the eyes, not only on the top, but also below. I've always made that area immediately below the eye to be as bright as humanly possible, but now I'm applying a dark color there. Note that I'm only doing it to the lower eyelid and not on the upper cheek. With the eyes looking sufficiently smoky, I used some very bright skin highlight color and applied a thin line to her upper lashes, which are quite nicely defined on this model, but also to her waterline, another beauty term. The waterline is a piece of skin in between your lower lashes and your eyeball. By the way, the fact that people are able to draw on what seems like the most tender bit of eye flesh other than the eyeball itself with a friggin' colored pencil is beyond me. Next up, I added some blush. This is really simple. I'm just applying some warm paint with a glaze to her upper cheeks. What I learned from makeup tutorials is not to be afraid of bringing that warmth to the front of the face as well. I tend to stick to the sides of the face only for whatever reason. Also, you can hit the end of the nose with some of this blush color, and it increases the cute coefficient of your minis by 3.6 pup kits, which is the official measurement of cuteness. Don't bother looking it up. I already did. This is science. Next, I worked on the lips, most uniquely the top lip. I tend to obliterate my miniature's top lip with too much upper lip highlight. On this mini, I really tried to create the Cupid's bow shape, which is where both upper lips meet in the middle to create what looks like the top of a heart. You can likely accomplish this on miniatures that don't even have this sculpted by angling your brush in a special way while applying your lipstick, your paint. This channel can't become a beauty channel. I'd be absolutely ruined. Have you seen my makeup application skills? Lastly, I took some satin varnish and applied a tiny amount to the tops of the cheeks and the chin. A lot of makeup tutorials ended in applying some small amount of shimmery highlight to those areas to really make the skin glow. I'll probably skip this step in the future as I wasn't a huge fan, but feel free to adapt and play around with that idea. That's it. Comparing the two faces, the biggest area of improvement in my head is the forehead. That's a bit of face painting tech that I'm not going to let go of. The other thing that I'm struck by is how the second face looks as though it has makeup applied, which is an awesome litmus test because I followed a bunch of makeup tutorials. I learned so much from this process, even more that I didn't share in this video. Eye types, skin types, eyeshadow ideas, where to connect shadows and highlights. My brain is greatly assisted by a loose set of guidelines to follow, and these videos gave me exactly that. I no longer feel like I'm painting a face with backyard alley techniques. I feel well equipped. Additionally, what I learned, most importantly, is that I don't know everything, and education can come from the least likely of places, like a makeup tutorial with 10 million views. Life's weird. What do you guys think of my discoveries? Do they seem as profound to you as it seemed to me? Do you know more than what I mentioned here and want to share with the viewers and I? Post a comment below. Otherwise, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Sorry it's been a while since I made a video. Apparently trying to do a Kickstarter campaign and move my entire operation to a different building at the same time was a bad idea. If you guys like the channel and you want to support it, there are a number of ways you can do it, all things linked down below. But today, most importantly, I want to direct your attention to the Kickstarter campaign that I mentioned earlier in the video. I've done a lot of work on this campaign and I'm really proud of it, and I can't wait to show you guys on February 25th. Subscribe or die! But most importantly, don't forget to paint my minis!
I don't need that. I don't need that. Who do you think I am? I don't care about makeup. Idiots like makeup.
Oh my god, I'm sweating.
And now we sit here and wait for Amber to finish coming inside.